Kaufmo's abstraction is the biggest mystery of the digital circus, and it is possible that in the new episodes we will see much more about this process, as we have already been shown in the second episode, and finally find out how it really happens. But who will be the lucky one? So it's time to talk about who will have to leave the digital circus and give their place to some of the newcomers. Let's not hesitate and start watching our amazing digital video. We don't touch Kane and Bubble because we know they are artificial intelligence. Let's move on to our calmest and most balanced character, Kinger. There is a strong possibility that he will be the next to become an abstracted monster. In general, it is surprising that he is still with us, because I have never seen a more psychotic and fearful character. Everything seems clear here, but let's take a closer look. We've already seen Kinger's mental state, which definitely leaves a lot to be desired. But as they say, if you're broken once, you can't be broken twice. I mean, we already see that Kinger is a crazy character, and most likely this will happen not for a week or a month, but for many years. This means that our chess piece has learned to deal with its problems for such a long time and can calmly get out of such a state. And that means that the line that must be crossed to turn into an abstract monster will never be reached by our king. After all, despite everything, Kinger often appears to be a reasonable and even quite brave character. Just look how confidently and calmly he communicates with Glowink's queen, and how bravely he ran to save Zubal, who said in one episode that she was sure Kinger would be next. Maybe that's a hint that he might be with us until the end of the first season, but that's not a fact. Frankly, I want to believe that Kinger will be able to overcome all of his fears and doubts, and in that case, there is a great chance that such an experienced and wise character will play a key role in finding the coveted exit. Gangle has a great chance to get completely abstracted, lose the last remnants of her self-confidence, and as a result, turn into an abstracted monster. If it seems to you that the solution to her problems is very simple, because she just needs to put on a comedy mask and everything will be fine, but unfortunately the digital world is much more complicated and Gangle's problems will not be solved so easily. Of course, she can change her masks or so-called faces, but I am sure that her real face is the mask of tragedy. In favor of this theory are the words of Gooseworx, and also remember one of the leaks directly related to Gangle. Remember her dark room? Take a closer look at all the masks hanging on the wall. Only masks of comedy and not a single mask of tragedy on her face. And also, I immediately remembered the New Year's picture where Zubal gives Gangle a comedy mask, and at the same moment she smiles. And apparently she can smile even with the tragedy mask on, further suggesting that this mask is her real face. The implication was that Gangle might stay alive, but only if she overcomes her despondency, which is more like depression. And this depression will lead Gangle to a sad end, if not in the next episode, then certainly in the next few episodes. But words like depression and despondency are definitely not characteristic of Zubal, who will be our next contender for the abstraction in the next episode. On the one hand, you could say that I'm crazy because there are no prerequisites for such a turn of events, but again, you're looking very superficially. If you take a closer look at this character, you'll see that Zubal doesn't identify as a person at all. This character has no idea who to identify as, he, she, or maybe it. For the sake of simplicity, let's think of Zubal as a woman, and think about what that might lead to in the next few episodes. We've already been officially told that the third episode will be all about Zubal, and while the next episode will definitely keep Zubal alive, the third episode could be crucial to her fate. We know that Zubal has a chest that holds the various parts that make up Zubal, and I'm sure the parts we've seen are just a small part of her equipment. And that's a key feature of this character because she has no image. She's basically a nobody. And a nobody who's a nobody can be absolutely anything. And this will be the main challenge of the third episode, where Zubal will have to make a very hard choice to completely eliminate her personality and throw away her trunk and thus accept herself and as a result stay alive, or to remain as uncertain in her choice, and in this case this problem will haunt Zubal for a long time and eventually lead to sad consequences that, you know. But as in the case of Kinger, I am sure that our strange but so interesting Zubal will be fine until the end of the season. However, there is a possibility that Zubal could be the next abstraction, because on a recent leak from Gooseworx, we saw an image that looks very similar to the final scene of the pilot episode, but on this leak we don't see our Zubal. Is this just a joke or a direct hint? What do you think, because I'm still worried about what Gooseworx said about the third episode and Zubal. Here we come to a fan favorite and a Gooseworx favorite. Of course we are talking about the famous Jax. I think Jax has the best chance at abstraction, even if it sounds like bullshit. We all know that Jax wants to be seen as a tough guy who hurts everyone and doesn't care about the opinions and feelings of other characters, but we know that's just an illusion our rabbit has built around him. Jax is not a strong character, which manifests itself in his various taunts or his anger, and he never misses an opportunity to mock the other characters, especially Gangle, because he knows how mentally weak she is and that she can't really answer him. On the one hand, he doesn't care about anyone, but on the other hand, he needs them for his own self-gratification, which he does throughout the episode and I'm sure will continue in the future. He does his best to watch various embarrassing situations happen to everyone but him. What if something worse than an embarrassing situation happens to him? Let's just imagine what it might be like. After all, it's quite possible that Jax will reveal all of his secrets, and then we'll find out that Jax is actually a vulnerable, shy, and very scared character. But what could it be? Maybe it will be a super difficult assignment from Kane, or it will be a situation like in the pilot episode with Kaufmo. But only on a larger scale, for example. There could be some kind of failure in the system of the digital circus, and the most dangerous place, the basement, will collapse. And all these dozens and maybe hundreds of abstracted monsters will get out into the space of the digital circus, and it's going to be a really dangerous game of you-know-what. But this is by no means a spoiler, it's just my little guess. And what Jax will do in this situation will be a really interesting story. Maybe he will start to grow as a person, accept all his mistakes and apologize to everyone, and then we will lose this rude Jax, but on the other hand, we will save his life. Or on the contrary, he will show all his hidden qualities and hide from the horror around him. And when Kane settles everything, then everyone will realize how pathetic a character Jax is. And of course, in this case, nobody will want to see him. And this loneliness will put more and more pressure on our rabbit every day, because his last point will be abstraction. Ratha is the most beautiful character of all. But in the pilot episode, we already saw the premise that she was going to be the next unfortunate one. Not because she had any problems, although we'll talk about that too, but because she was infected by a monster, and if Kane hadn't gotten there in time, the consequences would have been unknown, but I think very sad. Sometimes we get to see the real Ratha, who is also worried about everything that's going on around her. And apparently she worries more than the others, which could be a key factor. But most of the time, Ratha pretends to be having a lot of fun and not being bothered by any of the weirdness. Ratha is the kind of character who tries to see the good in everything, but she doesn't. She sees nothing but negativity and despondency around her. But the more I watch her, the more I believe that Ratha is trying to fool herself first and foremost, and thereby fool everyone else. Ratha is so trapped that she can't even get angry when the situation calls for it. Ratha wants to be good, but she is afraid of doing or saying the wrong thing so that no one will turn away from her. Left alone, Ratha will eventually drive herself to madness, and we will lose a strange, but at the same time very interesting and nice character like Ratha. In fact, if Ratha stays in the same role, this double play will lead to abstraction, but on the other hand, if Ratha accepts himself and starts to say what he thinks, one extra word can affect the attitude of the other characters towards Ratha, which will lead to loneliness and then to the same abstraction. It feels like our sweet Ratha has no other way to go, and that makes it especially sad. And at the end, we will talk about the main character Pomni. Of course, we can say a lot of words that she will not disappear in the new episode, because Pomni is the key figure of the whole circus. But we have already seen in the pilot episode the serious prerequisites for turning her into an abstracted monster. And who knows what is in the mind of our brilliant Gooseworx, and agree that such a turn of events would be very intriguing. Well, this is the end of our video, and I want to wish you a good day and patience while waiting for the next episode.